What's up, y'all? It's Candy with my 2 cents. Now, before I start, I want to thank all of my first-time viewers and my new subscribers, all of my old-time, day one subscribers, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Please be sure to comment respectfully and most importantly, subscribe for future videos. Today, I'm going to talk to you about some of the most stupid shit that I've heard in a long time. And the reason why I want to share this with you is that I think that other people are probably dealing with the same kinds of comments and conversations. And sometimes either you don't feel comfortable enough breaching the issue because, you don't want to deal with the argument, or a lot of times people just don't feel like they have enough information to give an intelligent response to some of the things that people are saying. So what is it that people are saying? You have equal rights. And as a matter of fact, you have affirmative action. So there's no reason why you cannot succeed as an African American race in America. Let me tell you why that is probably one of the most ignorant things that you could ever say to someone. There's little to no evidence to ever suggest in a statistically significant fashion that the cultural factors that exist between racially segregated and communities of high concentrations of poverty, there's very little evidence to say that those communities have cultural factors that lead them to an endless cycle of poverty. So let me tell you what is causing an endless cycle of concentrated poverty for Blacks in particular. Number one, there are economic forces and economic changes that have occurred over time that affect Blacks in a different way than it does whites as a whole. So specifically, we're talking about technological advances as well as the globalization of the industrial industry. We've got robots who are replacing live people. Classic example is the self-scan or the self-checkout in the grocery store. You can now check yourself out instead of going and standing in a line with a live person. What that does is it takes away jobs from people who don't have a college degree, or maybe have a college degree and are just falling on hard times and will take anything to make ends meet. I also heard that places like McDonald's and Wendy's are going to start replacing the cashiers with, guess what? Computers. And as a matter of fact, let's just keep it funky. Even if you wanted to work at McDonald's and, work the cash register, even if you were working at McDonald's at the cash register, you have to have an immense amount of computer skills where you can multitask on a computer, taking orders while giving change in order to even succeed in that particular job. So computer skills is almost like a GED. It's something that is minimally required in order for you to get a job in any place that is going to pay you minimum wage or more. Also, with the globalization of the industrial industry, people are able to outsource manufacturing jobs to other countries where companies are able to outsource jobs in countries that would pay a lot less to their workers to manufacture things and ship it on over to America. Also, the suburbanization of jobs. There's a study that says that there's 70 to 80% of all entry-level jobs are in the suburbs. And that's called job spatial mismatch, where the jobs are unavailable to people because it is literally unreachable by mass transit. I know, for example, me coming from the suburbs of Detroit, the buses in Detroit do not come to the suburbs. And if they do, it's like one. And it doesn't run that often. Let's talk about the political decisions that have led us up to the current day situation that we see. First of all, the Federal Housing Administration began to underwrite mortgages after the Great Depression in order to encourage home ownership. What that ended up doing is banks were actually using a practice called redlining. Redlining is where the mortgage company has certain criteria to determine whether they would actually underwrite that mortgage or not. Some of those factors were actually things that would directly prohibit investment in urban communities. Now, while I can understand that in a high crime area, you're less likely to want to invest your resources in a neighborhood that very well could make the owners subject to a lot of theft and robbery, things like that. That is totally understandable. But where there is joblessness, there is violent crime. So really, it takes some brave people to come in and create jobs and really integrate themselves in the community in order to create a sense of pride within the local community, such that they don't feel like it's necessary to rob or loot. Nevertheless, let's talk about white flight and the upper middle class blacks migrating into the suburbs. There's a racial seclusion that occurs because of this. And now people are less exposed to the culture and the social behaviors that are conducive for economic mobility. But they're also having to adapt their behaviors in order to survive in that neighborhood. That includes having street smarts. And with street smarts, some of the things that I even know, just being a single black female in America, is you don't make eye contact with people, and you surely don't want to hold long, drawn out conversations with people that you don't know on the street. So you basically try to keep to yourself. So when a person is looking for a job, unconsciously they're using those street smarts because it becomes automatic for them. They're not making eye contact with the hiring manager. They're oftentimes they're not interacting with people in a meaningful way. And for people who just want to survive, you got to have street cred. You can't just be out here looking like a little dweeb that can be pushed all over the place. So what do? They adapt. And they have this predatory attitude and behavior, at least an image of a predatory kind of person, in order to have some kind of self-defense in a society that otherwise would eat them alive. Let's talk about another political move that was directly affecting the black community to this very day. The Reagan administration decreased their spending on public assistance types of spending. So, for example, mass transit funding went down. Also, economic development assistance was reduced. Social service grants were also cut. Education was also cut. Job training was cut. So for people who, on a multi-generational basis, have been economically disadvantaged, the job training is necessary. Education is necessary. Mass transit is necessary. And all of those things were cut and taken away from those people. Let's not forget modern day racism, y'all. I know that you know about this resume experience where one person, his name is Jaquan, and another person's name is John. Same resumes, just different names. They might have changed very, very minute details so that they don't catch on to it so quickly. Overwhelmingly, statistically significant results showed that employers preferred John over Jaquan. And if the only difference is an ethnic sounding name versus a non-ethnic sounding name, you can be assured that it was because they thought he was black. And as a matter of fact, this has led us to conclude that there have been negative employer attitudes and behaviors towards low-skilled black men. As a matter of fact, there is another study that shows that employers would rather hire a white male with a criminal record than a black male who has a clean record. The main take-home point is that people are taking responsibility for their future. However, there are so many things that are stacked up against them that severely outweigh any cultural factor that could lead them towards a downward spiral, economically speaking. Share this with your friends. You might have a question like this coming up in the future, talking about us having a black president, and that shows that racism is dead. You need to inform people about what's really going on and what's happened and what continues to be what continues to have a huge impact on the African American race. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Love you all. And until next time, love and blessings.